Well, hello there. Welcome to the Procrastination Kitchen. I have been marinating the idea of a YouTube channel here for 5 years. It should be pretty tender now. Let me share the recipe. First, you discard dozens of intros, since they all sound cringy. After that, you make 4 self-portraits and begrudgingly go with the last one. Finally, you completely rewrite your script at least 3 times and attempt to record it for months, never satisfied with the results, until you get too exhausted. Then you decide to stick to it. Not because either ingredient is perfect, not even close to it, but from pure defiance. And because it kind of fits the theme of your dish. Now, setting aside that allegory, I am going to be very honest and confess my age, for context. I am turning 31 this year. Ancient by internet standards, I know. Even so, objectively speaking, not much has changed in my life compared to my 20s. Subjectively, however, I finally got fed up with trying to navigate everyone's expectations. Which made me think, maybe there is a valid psychological reason behind millennial cringe. It's not generational, just a side effect of aging. And hear me out. It might actually be healthy. But even before I reached this ripe old age, I have had beef with cringe culture and this phenomenon I call shame tripping. They correlated too strongly with my pretty subpar experiences as a teenage girl. Back then, it felt like anything I shared about myself became fodder for attack. I realized that the things I liked revealed more about me than the things I hated. They made me vulnerable in a sense, especially with my personality being in its most malleable phase. Sarcasm and cynicism were defense mechanisms I developed in high school, and I suspect they serve the same purpose for many of us. For example, tearing a movie or a book apart is safer and more entertaining than gushing about a story. Why? Well, for one, you are less involved. As a hater, at worst, you'll need to defend your opinion. As a fan, a part of your identity is under scrutiny. Don't get me wrong, I am not advocating for toxic fan culture. No singular hobby, piece of media, or celebrity should be the basis of your self-concept. I hope that goes without saying. What I am trying to convey is that we often choose to be detached in order to safeguard ourselves. Because when the things we hold dear are criticized, well, we run the risk of losing face by association. Even if this fear is irrational, it's still there. Our minds like to run these scripts in the background. Under closer examination, using logic, they usually fall apart. But the unconscious is not known for its logic. Let's look at one of these scripts, with the caveat that they are obviously context-dependent. Starting situation, you like to watch anime, draw fan art, or read erotica. Pick your poison. Observation, seemingly everybody around you agrees that those things are shameful and stupid. Conclusion, you who enjoys aforementioned activities are shameful and stupid too. Honestly, this points to a deeper issue. We, as a society, tend to attach moral value to every individual choice, no matter how inconsequential. Any forum or community can turn into a battleground where you either have to take cover or go on the offensive. As if interests and tastes were a competition to be won. But we are gonna leave that can of worms half open for now. The reason I am dedicating my first video to this specific topic, besides personal relevance, is mostly that, surprise, surprise, the internet has expanded cringe culture's reign, and I am not willing to pay any more taxes. Cue mandatory segment on the perils of social media. First, I have to admit, social media does three things exceptionally well. 1. Homogenizing thanks to trends and virality. 2. Amplifying due to constant global availability. 3. Distorting reality through the attention economy, filters, edits, and such. As you have probably noticed, I just use pretentious words in a numbered list to describe some very basic experiences you are already familiar with. To some, this counts as cringe. To others, me calling myself out on it does too. And because I made my blunder available to the masses, you get to shame me for it. Hooray! That's a demonstration of my second point. When you put yourself out there on the World Wide Web, well, people can comment on it worldwide. And these comments follow you home. They accompany you in your pocket wherever you go. We can talk about self-restraint all we want. The truth is, we are wired to seek social feedback. We use the bricks thrown at us to construct ourselves, at least partially. So, confession time. I will probably read all the comments I get, if I get any. And when there is no engagement, on my bad days, I might come to the conclusion that what I have to say is not worth listening to, that I and my content both lack compared to others, and creating or sharing anything is only meaningful when it reaches some higher, undetermined standard. My unconscious scripts whisper things like that. The rational part of my brain, however, brings up my third point about social media. What I am served on the internet is just a tiny, minuscule part of life. Attention feels valuable, sure, but it does not determine your value. Likes and views are rarely distributed based on worthiness alone. Also, what you see online always involves an additional layer. It's never truly raw, honest, or whatnot. The concept of authenticity doesn't really apply to people. We change, we adapt, we perform, not just online, offline too. So I suggest you try thinking about it like this. You will never truly know someone the way you know yourself. And even your self-knowledge has its limits. Therefore, I'd argue, self-discovery and self-actualization will always be more fruitful than comparing yourself to others and trying to fit their ideals. So please, record that lame video, create bad art, pick up a useless hobby, join the cringy club, and do note the quotation marks on all of those adjectives. Because just as authenticity, lame, bad, useless, and cringy are simply social constructs we came up with to police people who do not align with our perception of what is normal and acceptable. And here we arrive at the first point of my numbered list. Trends and norms spread faster and wider than ever. As we try to fit in and be accepted, we gravitate toward these safe choices. We join the majority to perform pre-written roles and miss out on even exploring the options that the popular opinion deems less worthy. In service of nuance, I need to remind us that my complaints are generalizations. Social media has its silver linings too, such as connecting you to like-minded people, broadening your horizons, lowering barriers to entry, and so on. Chances are, if you clicked on this random video from a no-name creator, you are probably less affected by some of the things I have brought up. Maybe due to how algorithms work, most of us end up preaching to the choir no matter what. Alas, the fear of being perceived and judged can plague anybody. Therefore, harkening back to the title, I am officially giving you permission to be cringe. To help you with that, I am going to share the talk I had with myself before making this video. If my content turns out to be cringy, will that infringe on others' rights or hurt them in any way? Not really. Even if I offend someone's sensibilities, they can end their suffering by a single click. Then could my cringy content endanger me somehow? My ego might take a few hits, but firstly, that is not guaranteed. Secondly, I can deal with it when we get there. Approached with the right mindset, challenges and failures are supposed to facilitate improvement after all, or so I have been told. Last question. Which is worse? Uploading a cringy, lame and bad video, or forever imagining the results of an action I was never brave enough to take? Well, I have ample experience with the latter, and it's not fun. Hence, I am trying something new. For now, this video, questionable quality or not, we'll have to cut it. You might not like it, you could even find it cringy, and that's alright. What matters to me is that it's done and out there. Those were the things I had control over. I am learning to let go of everything else, and I implore you to do the same. We can skip the liking, commenting and subscribing part. The only task I'm gonna give you is to do something freeing. You can't control how people react to your actions, so as long as you are not causing harm, you should concentrate on how those actions make you feel. Someone's cringe is another person's joy. And we shouldn't take away anyone's harmless joy, including our own, when there is already so little of it to go around these days. To bid you goodbye and bring us full circle, I present to you one of my old cringy intros turned outro. Hi, I'm Sophie, and this has been Meaning Mongers, a growing club boasting exactly one member as we speak. Our goal is to make sense of things by constructing new narratives and finding purpose in the mundane. Thanks for participating in our first meeting. See you next time.